Reading is something in today's day and age not many of us find ourselves doing, especially towards the younger side of our generation. We obviously prioritize our hectic lifestyles, juggling things from, classes, exams, hobbies, family time, and all sorts. And we find very little time to focus on ourselves and our condition. So to slow things down, I decided to put aside a certain amount of time every day for the next 30 days or so with the intent on making sure I read and seeing what I can learn from this and how it has affected me. To give a bit of context, coming into this challenge from the get-go, it did seem like a mammoth of a task. Initially, I wanted to read a book every day, but I came to the quick realization that I'd need to apply myself 100% for most of the day in order to get that done. It can be difficult to find the time to do that. And I didn't want to be, one of those people that start something and then have to drop it. My book options varied quite a lot. I wanted to make sure I ticked as many genres as I could so that I was not reading what was essentially the same thing. To name a few, I had some research papers, a lot of astronomy studies. One of my favorites actually was Kevin Hart's biography, A Productive Muslim, some manga, The Power of Habits, The Power of Now, and even some Harry Potter, to name a few. So before I get into my list, there are a lot of benefits to reading, and a lot of which can be backed up through scientific research. The benefits I'm about to mention are just things that I personally experienced or personal things that I felt. This entire list is very subjective to me. This is what I took away from it. Granted, this is obviously a relatively small time to see any sort of big change, but it's still enough to kind of develop more positive habits, which is kind of the goal of this for me. Onto the list. So I'll tick off the most obvious. It's a stimulating pastime. What I mean by this, why is it that people take up reading after so long? Well, it is to pass time with something more productive. Usually the more exciting activities end up taking our attention. I mean, if your friend said to you, would you rather read or play some video games or sport? I'm sure most of you would choose the latter. The same way working out builds strength of the body, reading builds strength of the mind. I noticed improvements in myself with attention, concentration, and even memory. Even I've noticed that my attention has improved. So that must be something. Point number 2. You learn to read better. Essentially, improve your comprehension. This might sound like a dumb one, but it is true. As with anything, the more you do it, the better you'll get at it. What I mean by learning how to read better is that your comprehension improves. It's easier to pay attention and actually digest the information you are reading. A lot of people read and don't actually take in what they're reading. I'll be honest, I'm guilty of that, as a lot of people are. It's a subconscious thing that we all tend to do at some point. After a little while, we read but zone out and have to actively remember to pay attention. Reading consistently for 30 days helps turn that effort of paying attention into an automatic response. I mean, even if I talk about this in, sort of the corporate world and at work, I've never really had an issue with it, but at some points I do find myself in the middle of meetings just zoning out and my attention is just gone. Like, clients are giving you information and, briefing you, and then I'm sitting there with like my head in the clouds, like I'm listening and I'm talking to them, but I'm not paying attention. It's a confusing thing, but I mean, it does happen. Point 3, it can be used as an effective stress reducer. Now, this has been proven by scientific research and whatnot. I keep on saying this, but as a generation, we do not read enough. And it came as a really pleasant surprise that this actually reduces the stress. Slowing down your daily routine, pacing yourself over a longer period of time, and reading is a very quiet and intimate activity. And that's what I try to do by having a big family. That can be difficult. But even then, I find myself being a lot calmer post reading. I feel like I've accomplished something, and because of that, a lot of the stresses of having to, look at your phone, look at your social media, watch this, watch that, do this, do that, search this, all of that is just gone. For the half an hour that you're reading, you're just in the zone, taking things as they come. It's a great feeling. Point 4, it improved my imagination. Like, I feel like to a certain degree, it started to help me think outside of the box a lot more. Can't explain it too well, but I think a good analogy would be to compare it to a passive skill you might earn in a video game. I do a lot of art, I'm a graphic designer, so it ties in very much so, and just reading on a constant basis exposes you to new ideas, understanding. Point 5 relates quite closely to point 4, but it focuses more on being creative and productive. Being a creative individual, I saw myself coming up with a lot more ideas which isn't 100% because of the reading. It's hard to say that just because of that I became more creative. But I did find myself referring back to a lot of the ideas that were brought up in these books. I'm big into fantasy, so a lot of the art ideas and characters I thought up came from a blend of characteristics in various books I read. Even the finance and money management ones, which didn't make sense to me. Like, don't ask me how, because I can't explain it, it just happened. I think the point here was that it got me thinking and adding aspects of what I read and making it fit into the world that I'm building. I'm not too sure, but it's something that I experienced. I'd be midway through a sketch and an idea would come to me which rooted from one of these chapters. Yeah, I mean, that might only be because it's in my sort of short-term memory bank. It's something that I've taken in recently, so it's more apparent in my mind. I feel like that might be the reason, but even so, I mean, reading these things puts ideas in your head. It comes back to one of those concepts where like you can't be ignorant of things. Like, the more you read about something, the more you're going to understand it, and the better understanding you have, the better you're able to use that information. This can be put into anything from creating a webcomic or a manga or something, into policies and politics, racism. It just comes all back into play. Like, the more you read and the more you expose yourself to things, the better off you're going to be. So point number 6, reading is an amazing way to help you build positive habits. Now, this is something that me and a lot of my friends have been trying to do. We're trying to get rid of all of our procrastination and all of that stuff and develop these habits and become more productive people. These positive habits are more a byproduct of this challenge. It's not specifically associated to the reading aspect of it. I feel like it's more to do with the fact that being able to commit to something for a certain amount of time, it will become normal for you. You'd be in a mindset where you do your reading and then you do everything else. So it's just changing the way you think and do your daily routine. And yeah, I'm super chuffed that it helped me essentially get rid of any procrastinational habits. Is that even a word? It doesn't even matter, but yeah. I mean, I thought I would improve little by little and I wouldn't see much of a difference in 30 days, but even I was surprised at how much my procrastination basically just went from up here to down here. It's an amazing feeling because you feel that satisfaction that you're getting things done. I do a lot of art, right? I never really had a schedule when it came to working on a new piece. Whenever I was feeling it, I would pretty much just sit down and draw. Reading for a month showed me how much having a set time to do certain things helps with productivity. Obviously, we have our responsibilities and whatnot, so it might be difficult to find time. I have a big family, so even finding some time, some downtime to do anything like that can be tough. It was very much a pleasant surprise. On to point number 7, and I feel like this is a really big one. You can learn a lot from other people's experiences. Stories and experiences that people have had can play a huge impact on the decisions you make. There are always a lot of lessons to take away. One that stood out quite heavily to me was Kevin Hart's. Now, of course, I only read a chapter of it. I just found a free version online. After reading that one chapter, I think it was like somewhere in the middle of his book, so I literally listened to his audiobook again. I have previously listened to his full story, but the chapter I chose focused more on motivation and keeping yourself productive. Reading through how someone has been brought up, the choices they make, and where they can lead you is a great reference point to use in your own life. The same can be said for fictional characters too. Take something like Dragon Ball Z, for instance. One of the, if not most known anime in the world. One of the key takeaways from the main character Goku's story is that he never gives up and constantly tries to push himself to newer levels. Granted, he's obviously just training and fighting people, but there are concepts that anyone can relate to and apply to their lives. It makes you think, right? Like, where else can you get this insight from? Like, not just from people you see on TV and books, even your friends and peers. Understanding their struggles and seeing them overcome certain things can give you great insight. I can say with 100% certainty that other experiences and stories have helped change the way I think, to not only be more positive in my outlook, but how to better myself and better to what it is that I want to do. It's one of the reasons why I keep myself as productive as I can. You know, you see other people's success and how much they put into it, and it kind of motivates you to do the same. Point number 9. I mentioned this briefly at the start, but small but regular consistency works the best. Stay committed. This links well with the positive habits. The same way I came into this challenge, I opted for small amounts over a longer period of time as opposed to the large amounts during a shorter period of time. This not only stops burnout, but as the action is done in small bits, it's more manageable. I've tried doing things in bulk in the past, and honestly, doing less daily will help a lot more than doing too much. Point number 9, a path to self-improvement. This one is not so much about reading in and of itself, but more so on having a plan and being as effective as you can with your consistency. Doing a challenge like this, I had a feeling I would not be able to stick to it, but to my surprise I did. That with a little more effort than what I am already putting in, I can better myself and apply myself to things that I need to or want to get done. That idea of wasting time is pretty much gone. I'm not too sure what it is. Once I had completed the chapter for the day, I had this sense of accomplishment which essentially made me more productive for the rest of the day. That feeling is something that can be difficult and require a lot of work to get done. But honestly, reading aside, I think that just sticking to something regularly will definitely help my motivation and self-improvement. Now, so with these videos, which I plan to make a lot more of, if you haven't seen them, I have another channel which is just based around anime type artwork. If you want to check it out, go check it out. Otherwise, cool. I mean, I have been really lazy, so this is a great first step to bringing myself back up and becoming more productive, putting more time and effort into bettering my skills. And as I've recently picked up cinematography and I've managed to mess around a bit, but obviously this coronavirus is screwing everything up, I have been putting the time in. This challenge, just reading every day, has given me a burst in passion that I actually, where I want to get things done. If anyone is seeing this, I would highly recommend doing something like this for 30 days, documenting it and proving to yourself that you can actually do it. Okay, so those were my takeaways from reading a chapter a day for 30 days. Hopefully you guys learned something, and obviously this is a very personal list. Granted, some of the things are quite generic, but the explanations and how I came to those conclusions are very personal. I am going to be doing a lot more challenges. They're not going to have a specific theme, because I want to try and tick as many things off as I can. I mean, hopefully you learned something, you took away something, and this kind of urges you to try and do the same. I would like to, if anyone does see this and they do a challenge, or if they've already done a challenge like this, and just let me know, because I'm really curious about other things people have done and how it has bettered them. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed the video. Please like, comment, subscribe, all of that stuff, and I'll catch you in the next. Peace.